Hey, good morning. Today's October the 1st, 2024. This is Wes Fryer, and I'd like to talk about hope and preparedness. So, there is a lot going on as I record this. We have just experienced, and we continue to experience, and I say we, my family is fine, our house is fine, but an hour and a half, 2 hours and more from where we live in Charlotte, North Carolina, in Western North Carolina, in Eastern Tennessee, in South Carolina, in Georgia, this Hurricane Helene is a devastating natural disaster of biblical proportions that is apocalyptic. That is no exaggeration. The stories that my middle school students shared yesterday, as we took a little bit of time to just say, how did the hurricane affect you? How did it affect your family? Do you know people that are affected? Were just incredible. And this is why I want to talk about hope and preparation. We need to maintain hope. Hope is so important. It is pretty easy to become, number one, overwhelmed when you read the news today, and number two, I think, to become depressed and pessimistic. And we need to focus on hope, on messages of hope, sharing messages of hope, and encouraging everyone to have hope. I think this is one of the reasons why I really do love sharing Bible verses. I've been doing this for years now, and hopefully this fall I will finish this book. I've been working on this, I've been not finishing this book for over 10 years that's called Pocket Share Jesus, Be a Digital Witness for Christ. And it's important to take control, assert control over the information that comes into our minds, to really keep a pulse of sort of how we're doing with information. And I say this because not only is there an ongoing huge natural disaster and humanitarian crisis happening just hours away from us here in South Central North Carolina. You know, we have large wars continuing in Ukraine and Russia and in the Middle East and Israel. And as I record this, it sounds like Israel is launching a ground war in Lebanon against Hezbollah. Next week, it's going to be 1 year since the Hamas attack in Israel. I really hope and pray that we can have peace, that violence can end. But unfortunately, it appears that these wars and conflicts are in some ways escalating. And I think that we are naive as citizens in the United States, sheltered and buffered as we are by these two huge oceans on each side of us. I think in our connected society today, it's very naive to think that we are going to remain insulated and unaffected by these violent, kinetic conflicts, which are continuing to escalate. And so I don't know what the future holds. We never do. But I do know this: hope is so important. And I find hope in some different places, and I want to encourage you to find hope in different places. Number one, let's find hope in community. One of the things that we hear coming out of these disaster areas is the ways in which people are helping other people. There are a lot of different initiatives happening. And by the way, watch out for scammers, because yesterday in one of my classes, as I was talking about this, we in web design, we're studying, how to make web pages, and anybody can make a GoFundMe. It's so important to verify the source. We talk about SIFT in my classes. We stop when we have information from a source we're not familiar with. We stop, we investigate the source, we find trusted coverage, and we trace to the original. We did all of that yesterday, and I actually wrote a blog post, and I'll link it down here below, it's like beware of Hurricane Helene Scams, okay? Because there's a GoFundMe that's still up. It has hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that nonprofit does not exist in Charlotte, North Carolina. It is, by everything that I can check out, it does not appear to be a legitimate fundraiser. But look, even though there are scammers and there's bad stuff going on, there's really, really good stuff. A lot of churches in this area and nonprofits have collected water and food. You know, the roads have been cut off. I think just yesterday, finally, I-40 to Asheville, between Asheville and Black Mountain, got reopened. But there's still, I have children in class whose grandparents are completely cut off on their mountain town. Thankfully, the one that was talking yesterday and telling me this has power and water. Some people don't have power and water. Some people are completely cut off. It is a literal survival situation, but people are helping people, and we will continue to help people, to help each other, to find community. So we need to find ways to help and build community. We need to find ways to process the trauma around us. We need to be careful about our media diet and how much we ingest. How much time do we spend watching news about just current events, whether it's current politics here in the United States, whether it's international conflict with Israel, Gaza, with Russia, Ukraine, other places. There's all kinds of stuff going on. We need to be careful and watchful of our own media diet, keeping our pulse to see how we're doing with our wellness. We need to find ways to process that change, but to build community, to be in service to each other. And also, I believe that we need to find ways to be spiritually well. You know, I am a follower of Jesus Christ. I have a story to share, which I won't completely share here, but my goodness, I have experienced some extremely difficult situations and circumstances, and those have driven me to my knees, and I have reached the end of myself. And you know what? When you reach the end of yourself and you have to decide, I don't understand why this is happening, Lord. You know, we have choices, and sometimes people completely walk away from faith and from God. In my case, I decided to have faith and to trust in God and to walk, you know, day by day, minute by minute. Sometimes life is like that. And I hope that I'm not in that situation again, but that has shaped me. Wherever you are, whatever situation you're in, I want to encourage you to seek hope and support from a higher power. I am a witness to tell you that we are more than this flesh and blood, and there are spiritual forces on this planet and in this universe that are more than what we can just see with our eyes. And having now lived, 54 years on this earth, I am very thankful to be aware of the fact that prayer is real, and I do not understand all of the ways of the world and all of the ways of God, but I do know that God has answered my prayer when I have cried out to Him, and I therefore have hope. I have hope in God, in His Son Jesus, and in His provision for my needs. Okay, last thing I want to talk about, preparation. The best time to prepare is when you do not have a crisis. The best time to go to the store to buy water or toilet paper or canned food or whatever it is that you need is when there's not a crisis. There's not a rush on the stores. I set up a couple of years ago a whole YouTube channel called Communitarian Prepper. I started to use this hashtag. I'll put it in here, ComPrep. In fact, I'll put the link. It's ComPrep, COMPREP.westfryer.com. And I am not a zombie apocalypse, tinfoil hat, prepper. I'm a Eagle Scout. I'm someone who earned the Emergency Preparedness Merit Badge back in the day. I'm somebody who lived in Oklahoma for 16 years, experienced multiple ice storms, saw friends, family, teachers experience devastating tornadoes, recover from them. Like, natural disasters happen, I went to the National Memorial, the National Memorial for the Oklahoma City bombing in what was the original Oklahoma City Federal Building multiple times. I have friends that were first responders when that happened in 1995, when Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols, blew that up and killed hundreds of people. Stuff happens, okay? We need to be prepared in our homes to be able to shelter in place for a while, to be able to bug in. Sadly, in the mountains of Western North Carolina, here last weekend, people had to immediately bug out and they didn't get to take anything because mudslides literally came down and tore down walls and they wiped out entire towns. The town of Chimney Rock is completely gone. And it's just like an hour and a half, I think, west of us. How do you prepare for that? With community, by, best laid plans. We never know exactly what's going to happen. But my recommendation to you is, in addition to thinking about how we maintain our hope, we need to think about how we can take some practical steps. And it's overwhelming, right? It's overwhelming if you look at all the things you can do. But look, do more than just go to the grocery store and buy some bottled water and some toilet paper. Think about, medical supplies. Think about medicines that you need. Think about dog food. Think about water. Do you have some water containers? I'm going to set up this weekend a rain barrel that I bought this summer, and I haven't set it up. And I need to set it up. I'm going to put it up on one of my gutters, and, because guess what? 2 of my colleagues in my department at school, in our middle school, they didn't have power this weekend for 3 days. And you can't flush your toilet if you don't have water. And so these are some really basic things. And I hope that we don't need any of that stuff. But what's just happened with Hurricane Helene is an absolute vivid reminder of why preparation is so important. But hope and community are important too. And so I hope this day, for each of us, that we find ways to share hope, to share kindness, to share love with others, that we can be aware of our media diet, what we're ingesting in our eyes and our ears. If we need to turn off the news, then turn it off. If you need to close Facebook and put down the phone, put it down, okay? But let's find ways to support each other, to share messages of hope and encouragement, and to build community, because these are things we need. Take care. I hope you have a great day.